So I really didn't think y'all would want this video, but here it is. Hi students, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, also known as the Mutant Academy. I'm Tallulah Chanel, your head mistress. For this video, I wanted to talk about Hallmark's Mahogany's retelling of Sense of Sensibility, a novel by Jane Austen, and how it relates to my issues with race swap casting. For a disclaimer, this is not a review of the film, just a thought I was having while thinking about this film. For those of you who don't know, Hallmark Mahogany is a subsection of the Hallmark brand that's dedicated to creating films starring Black people. And I'm hoping the stories are written by Black people, but we'll see. As I mentioned before, Sense of Sensibility 2024, which I will be referring to it as in this video, is a made-for-TV retelling of a Jane Austen novel of the same title. The story follows the Dashwood sisters and their widowed mother as they are forced to leave their estate and move to a more modest home. There, Eleanor and Marianne experience love, romance, heartbreak. It stars Deborah Ayerinde, Bethany Antonia, Susan Lawson-Reynolds, and more. Overall, I thought the film was okay. I didn't exactly hate it, but I found myself not caring for the film, the characters, or the ships. I really wanted to support this film because it's rare to see Black women in period pieces where they're not being brutalized, slaves, or both. But I can't pretend that I enjoyed this film outside of it being background noise while I played Toontown. However, I did enjoy hearing a string quartet remix of SWV's Week, and I will listen to that unironically. And plus, y'all already know that the Jane Austen fans couldn't wait to take this film apart. So, if you ask me, this film was dead on arrival. Now, to define race swapping, or as some call it, race bending, it is a practice in which a character's race or ethnicity is changed. In the case of Sense of Sensibility 2024, the characters Eleanor, Marianne, and more were race bent from their original images of white characters created by Jane Austen to Black men and women. Now, because race swapping is so controversial, I do have to talk about the differences between whitewashing and quote unquote blackwashing. So, whitewashing is the practice of altering something or someone in a way that caters to a white audience. In terms of casting, it's putting a white performer in a role based on a real life person or character of color, then thus stripping the cultural significance of that character or real life person. One of the many famous cases of whitewashing was Scarlett Johansson playing Major in Ghost in the Shell, a film adaptation of a Japanese anime. Now, I am not familiar with this anime, but based on what I've learned, Major is Japanese and should have been cast by a Japanese actress. Now, blackwashing is supposed to be equivalent to whitewashing, but in reverse, where a traditionally white character is casted with a black actor. However, the term has gotten so bastardized that it means any actor, black or white, that is darker than a tan white person. In Mean Girls 2024, which I have not seen yet, I still plan to, was accused of blackwashing by casting Evantika Van Der Poel. I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. I actually forgot to look it up prior to turning this camera on, so that was on me. As Karen. Avantika is not black. She's Indian. So you cannot say she's blackwashed. Also, blackwashing is not real. It is about as real as reverse racism. The term was made up by racist white people expressing their anger at studios for casting black actors as traditionally white characters and black visual artists for reimagining cartoon and anime characters as black, even though it doesn't remove any cultural significance away from the character. And before anyone jumps in to say it takes away from Asian representation, I want to remind y'all that Afro Asians slash Blasians exist, and that light skinned Asians still take a majority of their representation in American media. If this information is incorrect, I will accept critiques only from Asian people, not white people who want to jump in and speak over Asian people saying I don't get to speak for them. So know your role and keep your mouth closed. And yes, that has happened before. I've had a white woman tell me that I cannot speak on the Asian community, even though she's trying to speak for the Asian community. So don't do that. Know your role and keep your mouth closed.
Hi, editing to Lula here. So, for a little context about what I meant when someone tried to tell me I couldn't speak for the Asian community, um, what happened was this was doing a lot of the hate towards the Marvel film, and so someone asked the question of why is it that the Marvels get so much hate when Charlie's Angels does not? So when it was the early 2000s, so there wasn't like social media back then, so not a lot of people were expressing their hate towards things like that. But I was also saying, along with the misogynist hate that comes with that film, Charlie's Angels also has a white woman, a white nepo baby, and a light skinned Asian. And so a white woman felt very offended that I called Lucy Liu a light skinned Asian, even um basically said I don't have the right to speak for the Asian community. And I wasn't trying to speak for the Asian community. I was just saying that Lucy Liu is a light skinned Asian. But I said all of that just to point out how part of the hate that the Marvels get has to do with race. Because Charlie's Angels has two white women and a light skinned Asian, where Marvels has a light skinned Muslim person. I really hope I got their race right. Or no, I think Muslim is a religion, so I think I really messed up with that one. But basically, like a Indian, South Asian. I'm really just really bad with that. Knowing the correct term for that region, so I do apologize to that community. As well as a dark skinned black woman. So that was it. That was all. I do apologize to the Asian community if what I said was offensive, but that's just what it was. But again, if you're not white, no, I'm sorry. If you're white, then you need to know your role and keep your mouth closed because you don't get to speak for anyone that is not white.
Even if blackwashing was real, it will never be as harmful as whitewashing because the media, as always, and still caters to white audiences. There are several productions where the cast is 90% white with a token minority or two. That is the hill I would die on. And while I'm saying that, I'm reminded of a joke one of my Twitter mutuals said. It had to do with White Lotus and how they were casting for the, I think, their third season. But basically, my mutual said, y'all made up white people to cast. Because basically there was like no personal color in that casting for White Lotus. So I thought that was kind of funny. But that emphasized how media still caters to white audiences and how white actors, no matter how famous or not they always are going to find work because of white supremacy. It's great, isn't it? But anyway, to further explain what I mean by this, I do want to talk about the differences between race swapping two princesses, Ariel and Tiana. For years, we've known Ariel as a white skinned mermaid with bright red hair and a dream to go to the surface world to learn about the people while falling in love with a human. Casting her with a black actress and giving her copper locks does nothing to change her story. Ariel is still a mermaid that wants to go to the surface world. And off topic, I think the remake is just as good, if not better, than the animation movie. You can cry your mom's basement man about it because I really don't care. It was a good film. Y'all can't make me hate that film. Now, moving on to Tiana. Tiana is a dark skinned black woman in the 1920s New Orleans. Her goal was to own a restaurant, and part of the reason she couldn't get it has to do with her skin tone. Two white men didn't think a black girl could maintain something like that and didn't sell her the building she wanted. Also, her friendship with Charlotte, a white girl, shows the contrast of privilege and treatment they had in the 1920s. Along with that, the film pulls a lot of elements from black New Orleans culture. So, casting Tiana with a white actress completely changes the story elements, such as the conflict and the villain. Dr. Facilier represents an important sector of black New Orleans culture, so taking away the blackness of the film would mean creating another villain. Not to mention, it would be disrespectful to Leah Chase, a black chef that inspired Tiana's character. May she rest in peace. So, making her white also takes away from Tiana's cooking personality. I will even go as far as to say that making her white also changes her name, since the name Tiana is more common in the black community than any other community. Because Ariel's skin tone is not important to her character or story, it's believable that she could be played by any actress, white, black, Asian, etc., as long as she can sing. And I also lucky been joking about Ariel's multiverse of madness. Yeah, The Little Mermaid is one story I feel like could be told by any race or culture. And I remember Happily Ever After did like a Asian version of the story. They need to bring that show back. I love that show. Tiana, on the other hand, is connected to her blackness and cannot be any other race unless you're willing to change her story. And yes, I'm aware that The Princess and the Frog is a retelling of The Frog Prince, a German fairy tale. If it bothers you that the fairy tale was retold with a black protagonist, you can either go watch the 1986 film with the white protagonist, or you can create your own adaptation. Just leave Tiana and black women alone about it. And before anyone wants to bring up the ginger side conversation, I asked y'all to keep that same energy when Sydney Sweeney, a blonde actress, was casted as Julia Cornwell, a traditionally redhead character, and y'all didn't. So until you're willing to hold white actors to the same standard that y'all hold black actors for quote unquote taking these roles that belong to redhead actresses, I will not take your ginger side concern seriously. Now, to get into how Sense of Sensibility brought out my two issues with race swapping, and it has to do with the lack of original black characters and colorblind casting. So, when it comes to the conversation of lack of original black characters, please take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt because I know how this is going to sound. And I want to point out I am not siding with a certain demographic on this, but this was one time I kind of understood where they were coming from. So, normally in a situation like this, the anti woke, as they like to call themselves, like she used to say to me, just give black people their own original characters. But the difference between me saying it and them saying it, they will say that while not supporting black original characters. They ignore them, they unfairly criticize them, wish death upon them, and do this while not actively supporting black creators in the process. And then when you even say here's some black creations that you can look at if you really want some black original characters, they would be like, why should I support something just because it's black? And again, I'm not one to say you should support something just because it's black. You should support something because you want to support it. But it is kind of getting annoying how everyone wants to be like, we need black original characters, but then don't actually support black creators who are creating this stuff for us. And I'm still working on a podcast episode talking about that exact thing. Please be patient. Please be patient with me. I'm trying to have it out before this year's over with because I've been holding on to that for 2 years. Oh, and I hadn't forgot how racists were so upset about the first Black Panther film that they made posts to discourage people from seeing the film by saying that black people were attacking them at theaters. These incidents were false, and the sad part is that one of these fake posts actually used a picture of a woman in a European country that was a victim to a misogynist attack. And I'm not even gonna get into how horrible that is. Like, this woman was a victim of a misogynist attack, and you used her picture from her incident to like be racist. Like, if I was a woman, I would not be happy. For Sense of Sensibility, as much as I want to applaud Hallmark for having more inclusion on their brand, I don't like that they put out a regurgitated story with a black cast. Usually, I want to defend race swapping from racist, but the reason I'm frustrated with it this time is because it feels like I'm seeing more race swap castings than original black characters. And if they do give us these original black characters, they're often treated horribly by writing and production. If Hallmark wanted to do a period piece with a black cast, why not adapt a novel by a black author like Beverly Jenkins? She has plenty of material to pull from. Jane Austen's books have been retold and remade so many times. Like, I recently was just on Tubi to go watch Pride and Prejudice Atlanta, which is something I've been wanting to watch for years, so I finally made the effort to. Mainly in preparation for this video, but I really had no use for it, but I enjoyed it. Plus, Jack Gay was in there, so that was like my reason for wanting to watch because I love her. But not only did I find that adaptation, I literally found four more adaptations of that book in the search. And as nice as it is to have someone on screen that looks like me, I would like if the story was made specifically with me in mind. Mind you, I'm saying this a couple of months after I uploaded that rap shit video that I took down because it was glitchy in certain parts, and I don't know how that happened. Yeah, so that was unappealing, so I just took it down. And we're still seeing no improvement in content for black women. And yes, I'm aware that I cannot pronounce this because I'm literally terrible at like names that are not American or titles that are not American. I'm worse with European, but I can do African better than European. Um Awaju. And I do apologize if that's wrong, but it's basically like a very sci-fi cartoon on Disney Plus that takes place in like Lagos, Nigeria. And I apologize if I'm saying that wrong as well. But that was just recently released on Disney Plus, which I understand some people are not watching it because of the boycott, which is understandable. So I'm not judging anyone for that. And what I want to say, I can't say, but I do support watching it in other ways. You can see it, but I was winking. But also, I did find it weird that Disney released all the episodes in one day instead of a weekly release. And I actually told someone that one thing this is a little off topic, but understand where I'm coming from. Weekly releases kind of keep conversations going about TV shows, and this show had all the episodes drop in one day, and so it really feels like a here. Let's move on. And I think they did that too with that other show that I have not watched yet, but it's like a anthology series of African stories of African folklore and such like that. I cannot remember the name of it, but and I'm probably going to research it again and bring it up in editing.
Hi, editing to Lula again. So the show I am referring to is called Kizazimoto. Again, I do apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But it is an anthology series of sci-fi and fantasy stories written by African creators. I have yet to see it, but I do plan to in the near future.
The Midnight Angel series, which a friend of mine just told me that that wasn't officially confirmed. I don't know if it was confirmed or not, but that was like I was gonna say canceled before I could come to fruition, but either way, we're not getting it. Um, we're still trying to hear things on the Ironheart series, even though there's a theory that they just film both seasons and then just waiting to put it out. Um, we're not. I'm hoping at least we get it, if not 2025. At least, well, I doubt we're gonna get it by the end of 2024, but at least give us 2025 because we're tired of this. It's been like years at this point. And on top of that, we still have other adaptations based on books by black authors in development of Hades. There were some that were announced years ago, and we're still waiting to hear something. Because all we got was, oh, yeah, this person wants to develop, this person, this studio, or something wants to develop this book into a series or a movie or something. And then we never hear about it. And recently, The Davenports was announced for an upcoming series on Amazon Prime. And because of all of the projects that's in development to Hades, I'm not gonna show any excitement for this until I see a trailer with a release date. Then I will be up. But I already have my fan cast ideas for the characters. Arsema Thomas as Olivia Davenport, Lovey Simone as Helen Davenport, and John Boyega as Jacob Lawrence. I haven't figured it out how I'm gonna do everyone else just yet. But those are at least three of the people who I think should be in the Davenport series. Now to move on to colorblind casting. Colorblind casting is the practice of casting without considering the actor's ethnicity or race. Most notable colorblind castings are in the 1997 adaptation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella and the Little Mermaid remake, which was both casted by the same person. Because these two films are in the fantasy genre, the characters' race and ethnicity aren't important unless it serves the story. And in either of these stories, it doesn't matter the character's race. Although we're still trying to figure out how a black woman and a white man make an Asian child, but I go on a limb and say he was adopted, just like how they gave Eric a black mother and specified that he was adopted. So. In a film like Sense of Sensibility 2024, and just the story as a whole, and even the show Bridgerton, both of those are grounded in reality. So the ethnic backgrounds of these characters matter and really should be taken into consideration. Colorblind casting ignores the harsh realities of black people in their lives during those time periods. Now, I am not asking to see black people be brutalized on screen for the realism, but why pretend that these things are not happening? And it seems like through the colorblind casting, they're trying to create this post-racial utopia that does not exist. And it doesn't exist now. So it wasn't existing back then. I mean, yes, black people were aristocrats and in these positions, but it's like we're not gonna act like the people there was like acting like they shouldn't be there. Now, in contrast, there's color conscious casting that considers the race and ethnicities of these characters should they choose to cast an actor of color. Now, I want to read a quote from an article written by M.A.P. Cummings, which will be linked in the description, titled Colorblind Casting Isn't Woke, It's Racist. Effective color conscious casting places greater responsibility on the writer, director, and casting directors to execute an in depth evaluation of the cultural connotations of requesting an actor insert themselves into a narrative that is not their own. Ideally, they would ensure marginalized actors are not burdened by their racial transcendence and, if need be, adapt the production to better suit their needs and perspectives. Amy also went on to explain how white audiences have a tendency to overlook the racial and historical context of how colorblind casting has been allowed to thrive, which is superficial diversity and inclusion. Which is why it bothers me that it seems like we're getting more race swap characters than originals. And to emphasize this point, I want to talk about two characters: Lucy Steele from Sense of Sensibility and Marina Thompson from Bridgerton. Now, Lucy Steele was engaged to Edward Ferriers in a secret betrothal, but she ended their engagement when Edward was cut off from his fortune and proceeded to marry his brother Robert. In this adaptation, she's played by Victoria Econoy. Again, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but she is a beautiful black woman, and I could not take my eyes off her. She's so pretty. But I can't help finding it problematic that this character was casted by a black woman. While the film had a healthy balance of casting black actresses all around, I can't help thinking about how it would have looked back then for a black woman to gold dig from a white family. Even though they tried to balance it by casting Mrs. Ferriers as a black woman and rewriting the story to make her their stepmother. The reason why I find it odd is because there's a gold digger stereotype associated with black women that we will stoop to criminality for a handout. Casting Lucy Steele with a black woman contributes to the stereotype, and I don't think production considered that before casting the character. Marina Thompson. Now, I'm aware that majority of the Bridgerton characters in the books were white, if not all of them were white. And because Bridgerton doesn't have the same diversity in the books that it does in the show, I'm not interested in reading the books. I'm sorry. Call me whatever. I'm just kind of at a point where I don't want to entertain a lot of stuff that's just full of white characters. I want diversity. And I'm sorry if that makes me a bad person. But Bridgerton does show representations of black aristocratic society. It does, however, fail with colorblind casting, especially in the case of Marina Thompson. Now, Marina is a distant cousin of the Featheringtons, and she was sent to them so she could enter society. But we soon find out that Marina is pregnant by George Crane, a man from her hometown that she was in love with. After Lady Featherington wrote a fake letter from George stating that he was breaking off their relationship, Marina conjures a plan to secure Colin Bridgerton as a husband and father of her unborn child. That was until Penelope outed her pregnancy, which also reveals that Colin was being used. My feelings about Marina are similar to the ones I have about Lucy. How would it look for black women to trap a rich member of society in that time period and lie about the paternity of an unborn child? I feel like these productions gloss over how black aristocrats could be treated due to the scandals caused by these characters. Even though they were equal to their white counterparts, prejudices and biases, whether conscious or unconscious, were prevalent in that time period. Then and still now, white people think that if one black person does something unfavorable, we all do it. And I'm sure that white aristocrats would think that all black aristocrats are lying gold diggers because of a couple of these scandals. Hi, editing to Lula here. So about this part, I was trying to make a point, but I didn't execute it well, and then I tried to make the point again, and it still wasn't executed well. So now that I have time to actually think about what I was trying to say, this is my last attempt of trying to get this point across without it sounding wrong. But basically, one, I was also saying that respectability politics does not work. I recognize that. But I was also seeing how white people already have this preconceived notion of how black people are. So then you have characters like Lucy and Marina in these spaces, and that's majority white, and they act this way. Now, while that does sound like I am saying respectability politics, I kind of realized what I was trying to say was in the original works where Lucy and Marina were white, that was not a big deal, I guess, to society then, because I mean it's a big deal to society. But I'm guessing because they were white characters, they were allowed that individualism that black people and especially black women aren't often allowed. So white women don't have this stereotype on them that they're lying gold diggers. Meanwhile, black women already have these kind of stereotypes against them that they're like gold diggers, they're lying, conniving, and scheming, and then you cast these characters, Lucy and Marina, as black or half black women, and because I don't know if Ruby Barker is black or half black, so. But yes, you put Lucy and Marina in these situations, and the way their characters were written and the actions they did only further added to this stereotype of black women being this way. So that was my issue with both of them being cast as this character. These characters, I'm probably reiterating, but that's basically why I had issues with that. So I want to close out this section with another quote from M&P Cummins' article. It is not enough, however, to be merely aware of the BIPOC bodies present in film, television, and theater. It is imperative to identify and challenge the prejudices and stereotypes white audiences have attached and continue to attach to these bodies. Moreover, those possessing creative and management responsibilities for productions must discern the social, political, and cultural implications of the screen on stage existence of bodies of color. In my own words, it is not enough to put a black actor in a role. There needs to be care and consideration for the type of character they're casting for. Granted, racist viewers are gonna hate the character just for being black, breathing, and not existing in their limited view of black people. Productions doesn't have to exasperate that with characters such as Lucy Steele and Marina Thompson. Before I conclude to my final thoughts, I want to read one more quote from the article. There is an exigency for writers, directors, casting directors, producers, and executives to admit that neither colorblind nor color conscious casting can function as an alternative to global distribution of stories brought to fruition by BIPOC creative teams for BIPOC audiences. Now, as for me, I do applaud Hallmark for wanting to add diversity to their brand. And I do think the cast of Sense of Sensibility did well in their respective roles. But I still would have liked if they were given an original period piece instead of a story that has been done so many times. In time, I hope production companies will take creators of color seriously and allow their works to see the light of day. And I am begging for the millionth time to get those adaptations of books by black authors out of developmental Hades if they're not about slavery, racial violence, or hood life that involves drugs and violence. Those can stay in the vaults. Now, that concludes my commentary for this video. Thank you for watching this video. And let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with this video. Just please be respectful when doing so. And subscribe to this channel for more content. If you would like to support this channel with a monetary donation, the link to my Ko-fi page will be in the description. There you will find snippets of my novel, as well as previews of other writing projects I'm working on. Right now, I'm currently running a crowdfunding campaign to help my best friend and I keep from getting evicted from our apartment. So any little donation will be appreciated. Or if you're unable to donate, a quick share will also help and be appreciated. If you would like to support me for free, you can follow me on my social media platforms at Tallulah Chanel on Tumblr and TikTok, at Tallulah Chanel 94 on Instagram, and Tallulah_Chanel on Twitter to stay up to date with content I'm working on. You can also join the Mutant Academy broadcast channel on Instagram, where I will be posting links to videos, podcasts, and writings. And all the links in my social media will also be in the description as well. So thank you again for watching this video, and this has been a message from your head mistress. Bye.